Good evening, everyone. The City of Grand Haven regular City Council meeting of October 2nd, 2023 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe, McLaughlin,
Here.
Cummins,
Here.
McNally.
Here. The invocation tonight will be delivered by the Reverend Dr. Jared C. Kramer of St. John's Episcopal from Grand Haven. Would everyone please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance that follows.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. O Lord, our governor, bless the leaders of our land, that we may be a people at peace among ourselves and a blessing to all people of the earth. To the President and members of the Cabinet, to governors of states, mayors of cities, and to all in administrative authority, grant wisdom and grace in the exercise of their duties. To senators and representatives, and to those who make our laws in states, cities, and towns, give courage, wisdom, and foresight to provide for the needs of all our people and to fulfill our obligations in the community of nations. To the judges and officers of our courts, give understanding and integrity that human rights may be safeguarded and justice served. Teach our people to rely on your strength and to accept their responsibilities to their fellow citizens, that they may elect trustworthy leaders and make wise decisions for the well-being of our society, that we may serve you faithfully in our generation and honor your holy name. In this night, our Heavenly Father, we pray that you will send down upon those who hold office in the city of Grand Haven the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose we may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business is a new appointment to a board or commission. Would you read it for us, please, Maria?
Yes. Nina Bryn, Historic Conservation District Commission, with a term expiration of June 30th, 2026.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So move. And second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Moving on to the approval of consent and regular agendas. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. It's the first call to the audience, one of two opportunities. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may dial in at 616-935-3203. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers.
Good evening. Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. My topic for tonight is a needed charter change, and it's about the timing associated with issuing the council agenda and accepting the last item. And as you listen along, the key words are transparency, governance, blindsiding, solutions, and charter change. First, I want to talk a little bit about definitions. About transparency, and transparency is making items visible to voters. And most people commonly refer to transparency as having issued documents being available to the public. But I also believe that transparency is what is needed to allow voters to provide input to officials before decisions are made and items are voted on. Voters must have the right to be able to review, discuss agenda items, and provide input before a vote is taken. Elected officials who do not offer that opportunity are by definition not practicing good governance, which requires soliciting constituent input and recommendations before deciding on how they themselves will vote. Now, for blindsiding, my complaint is that we have a group of council members that is frequently bringing up items and having them appear for the first time on an agenda issued late Thursday prior to a Monday council meeting where a vote is to occur. In my opinion, this is blindsiding and robs the voter of the ability to digest, debate, and recommend their preferred course of action to elected council members before a vote. It also robs the other council members of the time needed to sufficiently investigate and get input from their constituents prior to voting on an item. Does council even realize that a letter to the editor submitted on a Friday to the Grand Haven Tribune cannot be published the next Monday? The Grand Haven Tribune no longer publishes on a Monday. However, it was published on a Monday when the charter language was adopted. The paper also was published in Grand Haven, which allowed a very short cycle time from a letter submission till it appeared in print. There is now no viable way, including social media, to enable a two-day business or 2 business day turnaround. It's definitely time for a change. Now that you've heard my complaint, here are the solutions. Charter change requiring the agenda for normal council meetings to be published the prior Monday with a 3 p.m. submission deadline for submitting new items. This would provide voters with a reasonable amount of time to understand a proposed item, discuss it within the community, and provide officials with their recommendation. It would also provide the other council members with time to review a new issue, talk with affected constituents, and make an informed decision before they cast a vote. The current elapsed time of 2 business days from the agenda being issued to a vote is not sufficient. It's definitely time for a change. Number 2, record on the agenda who is introducing items of new business. This would enable voters to have a record of who has been introducing items and allow them to consider this in their voting decision at the next election. It's definitely time for a charter change, and these are them.
Thank you, Jim. Austin.
Hello. Austin Ganyu, 5180 Crystal Lake Road, Holton, Michigan. With an upcoming election, I just wanted to take a few moments and share some facts about the Board of Light and Power's performance. In order to ensure the longevity of the utility, in 1959, this community voted to amend the city charter to create the Board of Light and Power as we know it today. This voter-elected board was tasked with following utility best practices, which it has done for the last 6 years. And so to illustrate this performance, I thought I would share a few key facts focusing on reliability, affordability, and sustainability, the 3 pillars of the organization. So on affordability, according to the Michigan Public Power Association, the BLP's residential rates are currently 25% lower than our local competitor, Consumers Energy. Achieving this end requires diligence and fiscal planning, and those are excellent results. On reliability, the BLP has earned the distinction of the diamond-level reliable public provider. Statistically, in 2021, BLP customers experienced an average 2.75 outage hours, as opposed to our state's average of 14.85. So that's 5.4 times fewer outage minutes than the state average. That's excellent, and it's a direct result of a well-trained workforce and significant investments in infrastructure. Since 2017, the BLP has invested nearly $14 million in its transmission system, substations alone, while simultaneously reducing rates for its customers. Also, excellent performance. On sustainability, the BLP has performed well on both environmental and fiscal sustainability. Renewable energy purchases have increased from 9.4% in 2019 to 22% in 2022 of all purchases. As far as fiscal responsibility, Utility Financial Solutions has stated that the BLP is, and I quote, very financially stable. The BLP's pension plan is approximately 95% funded. This means BLP customers are not saddled with unfunded pension liabilities, and they can rely on stability in their electric rates. Finally, the BLP has been able to achieve these ends while providing over $48 million to the city over the last 4 decades. That's also excellent performance. So by all available metrics, the BLP is providing excellent value to this community. So for those that'll be voting in November, I implore you to remember the words of the wise woman speaking to her husband, and I've heard this a time or two. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Anybody else?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Hi, Shar.
Shar Say, Community Affairs Manager for the City of Green Haven. I'm just here to talk to you about Encounter the Arts. This is our second annual event that's being held this Saturday, October 7th from 2 until 3 p.m. We have a variety of family-friendly activities revolving around the arts. It's an opportunity for the community to come in and enjoy different forms of the arts with different artists from our community that are donating their time. This year, we do have Nora as a participant, and they are going to oversee our kids zone, where there'll be activities like face painting, rock painting. We're going to have some experiences with Taekwondo for the kids that participate. And then we have some new events this year that we added on, and they include a demonstration by the Fab Lab on how to do 3D printing. Midwest Miniatures Museum is going to do an activity that obviously revolves around the miniatures. We have a new partner called the Epicenter, which is going to do a project that's called Create Your Art with Your Heart. And then we also have a magic presentation by the Mystic Prince. So you'll see a lot of performances by Grand Haven Public Schools, the kids that are in the current play, Mary Poppins. And we're also going to see some performances by the Pigeon Creek Theater. They're going to do some Shakespeare. We'll have some behind-the-scenes tours of our theater, and then we're going to culminate the event. Central Park Players is going to host a cocktail reception for us from 5 to 6, and then we're partnering with the Loudoun District Library to have the final showing of the Manhattan Film Festival, which is an opportunity for the community to participate in voting for a potential Academy Award-winning movie. So come on out and enjoy the day with us from 2 to 5 on October 7th at the old Grand Haven Community Center, now called Central Park Place.
Thank you, Shar. I think you left out that there's a famous opera singer who's going to give vocal lessons as well.
That's right. We're expecting you.
Yeah. Uh-oh. That might not be a deliverable, I can promise. Come on up, Cecil.
Cecil Bradshaw, 31 Sherman Avenue. We've heard a lot from the group BLP-CCC extolling all the reasons the BLP should be dissolved and become another department under the control of our city council and city manager. Why would we vote to do that? The Michigan Community Financial Dashboard is provided by the Michigan Department of Treasury using data collected off the annual financial report, F65, submitted by local units of government. The 2022 results for Grand Haven are as follows. Now, by the way, they're in percentages. 100%, hold your head high. 0%, hang your head in shame. General fund health for Grand Haven, 56th percentile. General fund ratio, 37th percentile. General fund cash ratio, 44th percentile. Pension health, 6th percentile. Debt health, 12th percentile. Governmental net position ratio, 56th percentile. Taxable value per capita, 88th percentile. You can see from the data the city of Grand Haven has a poor rating in fiscal management. We score very high in the taxable value per capita of 88%, but score very poorly, as low as 6%. In the use of those revenues, financial mismanagement is management that, deliberately or not, is handled in a way that can be characterized as wrong, bad, careless, inefficient, or incompetent. I would not want to take the BLP, loaded with the requirement of technical and strategic expertise, and place it under the control of our city council that has not demonstrated good fiscal responsibility with current responsibility. You have zero expertise in strategically sourcing electrical power to our community, as well as the physical requirements for a reliable source of power. How on earth could you possibly be expected to provide leadership with our power sourcing, power pricing, and power reliability? I saw the leadership at the September 18th meeting, and it was very, very disappointing to have a couple of rogue council people go against the better judgment of the lawyer, city attorney, go against the feelings of the entire council. That did not present leadership of this city to me at all. I saw the way the diesel plant was sold, where we gave away $6 million. That didn't seem like very good fiscal management to me either. So we've just heard from what the reliability has been from the BLP, and I would question why anybody would want to vote to change. I think, as was said, if it's not broke, why fix it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cecil.
Hey, it's me again, the Reverend Dr. Jared Kramer, priest at 524 Washington. Two things. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. I was disappointed in the last meeting when Karen Lowe was gavelled out of order for seeking to respond to something that was being said. That's the general approach, but I've noticed, Mayor McNally, that you several times, including that meeting and tonight, have responded to public comments in your own role. To offer that to yourself and then to gavel out another member of council seemed to me to be not terribly appropriate. That's one reflection. Number two, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If the only standards we use to judge our electric utility is do the lights turn on and is it reliable, then sure. But can't we expect more? Can we expect our electric utility to adhere to Michigan election law? Can we expect our electric utility to protect our waterfront and our climate and our area? I would hope we can have those expectations of our electric utility, and I would hope that all of us wouldn't sell short the waterfront of Grand Haven for the goal of being able to flip on a light and make it easy. I am glad that you all, the city council, if the charter changes passed, wouldn't have to do all the things that Cecil has brought up. That's fantastic, because you surely cannot, which is why a director of energy services who is trained and skilled and able to do those things would be the one who does that, just like our amazing public safety department does, just like our other amazing departments in the city do. I also want to say that there have been some issues with financial management in the city of Grand Haven. And I applaud you, current members of City Council, every single one of you, for working so hard to right that ship. You are doing your best to make it right. I applaud it, and I trust you to do it. And I am sure if your charter amendment is passed, that an appropriate trained director will be put in place who will absolutely ensure the lights turn on, everything remains reliable, all of the employees are protected, all of the funds are reserved, but even more than that, that our waterfront is protected and that the laws of the state of Michigan are adhered to at all times. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Okay, moving on. Maria, would you read the consent agenda aloud, please?
Item A, approve council regular meeting minutes of September 18, 2023. Item B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $14,108,813.56. Item C, approve the adoption of the Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Agreement and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
Is there support?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll, Maria.
Fritz?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
McNally?
Yes? Okay, moving on to new business. Would you read item A for us, please?
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to modify and shorten the 3-hour parking season in the downtown and Centertown parking lots to run from May 15th to September 15th annually. Main Street recommends approval. Administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion to support that?
So moved.
And support for the motion?
Second.
I think Fritz moved, McLaughlin was the first for support. Any discussion? Ashley, want to say anything about this?
Sure, yeah, this was a request that was brought up ultimately through the Recruitment and Retention Committee, through the Executive Committee, and again, ultimately, the full MSDDA board. The current season, just for perspective, is from May 1st to November 1st. Based on some feedback at that level, they worked through some recommendations, but decided that May 15th through September 15th more accurately reflected the busy season.
I think based on my observations, living across the street from several of the parking lots, this makes a lot of sense.
And these are, just again, also for those watching, this is the back parking lots behind the buildings, not the on-street and side street parking.
Right. Mostly along Franklin, there's one in Columbus.
Yep.
I think those are the ones they're talking about. Okay.
Can I just ask one
Yeah,
question?
sure.
How did the May 1st and November 1st, maybe you know, how did that standard start from May 1st to November 1st? I'm just curious.
You know, I honestly do not know the origin of that decision. I would assume it was likely a traffic control decision made in conjunction with the DDA at that time.
Okay.
But I know it's historically been that way for quite some time. I can't necessarily speak.
I actually think the 3 hours in the parking lot isn't all that old. I mean, I
Okay.
remember when it came in, and I don't,
So-
within the last,
Beyond
I'm
my
going to
5
say
years,
7 or
I
8
suppose.
years,
Yeah.
maybe. Pardon?
I said beyond my 5 years, I
Yes,
suppose.
but
yeah.
not substantially, I would
Okay.
say. So I think that they put it in picking dates that they thought would protect a flow of shoppers into town, but I think now they've looked at it again.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
It was brought forth by the DDA at that time.
All right.
Yeah.
I figured you'd know. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Maria?
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Item B for us when you're ready, Maria?
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve a grant application to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources for a fiscal year '24 Urban and Community Forestry Program grant in the amount of $25,000 and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved? Second?
Second by Cummins. And maybe, Ashley, you could explain this one as well, because there's not a lot of, the program guidelines are in the packet, but our grant application isn't. And can you basically explain what's going on?
Yeah, so this grant request is at the request of our Forest Management Subcommittee of the Sustainability and Energy Commission. They've been working diligently. This request came up a little later in the process. Unfortunately, the application is due October 13th, so the narrative for the grant isn't necessarily included in your packet, but the breakdown, the narrative isn't outside of, it's mostly the presentation you've seen at previous council meetings. But the breakdown of the application would be a $10,000 request for tree disease controls and $15,000 for additional street trees. And that's because we're leveraging, instead of any additional general fund grant match, we're leveraging our current DPW budget for our current street tree
For
program.
annual tree planting anyway, yeah.
So this is again at the recommendation of our Forest Management Committee, who is facilitating and writing the grant on our behalf.
And the deadline for grant submission is before the next council meeting, so they're trying to, basically, they're getting, submit this grant request in advance, and they'll put the narrative together, but we have general parameters on what they're asking for.
And any acceptance and/or grant agreement would come back before you.
Yep, okay.
Very good.
Anybody got any issues on that? Call the roll, please, Maria.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Item
I-
C.
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve an amendment to the agreement for early voting administrative services between the City of Grand Haven and Ottawa County and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved? Second?
And is there a discussion here? Maria could probably give us a little background on what was initially approved several weeks ago and then what's happened since. Could you do that for us?
Yeah, so at their last meeting, the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners approved the original early voting agreement, but they did add some amendments, and the addendum itself was actually drafted by our city attorney, Ron Bolche, who represents several other jurisdictions in the county. And the key components that it adds are the use of watermarked ballots when the stock can be acquired, which isn't a big deal to us because ballot production is one of the few things that the county controls entirely on its own. The county clerk controls entirely on its own, and Clerk Roebuck was planning on ordering watermarked ballots anyways once he could acquire stock, so doesn't really change a lot for us in operations. And then the other thing was adding 24-hour. The County Board of Commissioners initially wanted a live stream 24-hour surveillance of early voting sites, which local clerks pushed back on because we thought that was more of a security issue. So the early voting sites under the addendum will still have surveillance, but then we'll also, the county clerk's office will look into line management tools for people that doesn't include live streaming the sites, for people to look into to see how busy an early voting site is to help their decision-making and when to attend. And then there was some other cleanup language that was recommended by other local attorneys that just got added in.
So your recommendation is the amendments are good and we should approve them?
Yes, the agreement is still the financially and collaboratively is still the best route to go, and while we're learning this brand-new process.
Okay. Does that raise anything for anyone? Could you call the roll?
I'm comfortable.
Fritz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay. We're down to report by city council. Mike, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. First, I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on a forum. It was very informational for people. It was nice to see a large crowd out there. And also, I'm happy to see it again and being on Facebook. I like to see things live like that and help it out for people to see it at home. And I just want to come to an end of an error. Is you see on the screen here, Miggy is no longer going to be a Tiger. I had the unique experience to sit on a field with him, shake his hand, and have conversation with the guy. There's going to be another baseball player in my lifetime like him. 500 homers, 3,000 hits, a 300 average. That puts him in the ranks with Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and it's Miguel Cabrera. 500 homers, 3,000 hits, 600 plus doubles. Same thing as Hank Aaron, Albert Pujols, and Miguel Cabrera. 500 homers, 3,000 hits, and a triple crown, Miguel Cabrera.
Nice, Mike.
He's
Okay, I heard he's staying with the Tiger organization. Is that-
Yes, he is.
So he's not really leaving the Tigers.
But he's
just
no
changing
longer, it was
roles.
his last game, and if you watch the game, it was how fitting, they put him in to play first base, and he wanted to play one more out, and the ball hit, with the next pitch came right to him, and he did a solo, went over and tagged first base. How fitting can that be, to have your last game and do that?
That's nice. All right, anything else?
No, it's been beautiful out there. What a great October. So everybody get outside and enjoy the days.
Kevin?
I only have one thing. I was reviewing the minutes, and especially the airport board, and I see that we have 59 aircraft on the field that regularly use our airport, but we have 35 people waiting on a waiting list for hangars. And, you know, I'd like to, maybe not tomorrow, but sometime I'd love to have a joint meeting, work session with the airport board. I think it just makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities there. They got hangars that frankly should be torn down. They're talking about building a new hangar, but if you're gonna build one, they should build. I'm not sure that we should be involved. I think we could do this on a public-private partnership. So I would love to try to schedule something, if it's convenient for everyone, to have a work session. And yes, the weather was great, the beach was beautiful today.
Yeah. I know.
Ryan?
Yeah, I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for the candidate forum. Very well attended. Great that there's, it was streamed on social media and folks can watch that back. Yeah, a couple things I want to touch on from the comments we heard tonight. First, there was mention of the diesel plant. The prior city council, this current city council, unanimously, both councils voted the choice was the Board of Light and Power suggested that we tear down the diesel plant, the historical diesel plant. And there's a lot of folks in the community that had concerns that it was a historical building and that we'd be tearing down our character, our aesthetics, and our charm. And the prior council, this council, again, unanimously made a decision to save that building. It was a very open process, a well-vetted process. But I'm glad that we preserved that piece of our history. And then there was a comment tonight that there's been financial mismanagement on the part of the city, and I take, my concern with that comment is that, this city council, our fantastic city manager, we have a great finance director, have worked hard on our budget and really tackled some significant things over the last couple of years. We have a balanced budget. Our operations are fully funded. We funded everything that our staff were asking for to get the job done this next year from an operational standpoint. Since 2020, this community's general fund balance, which is our savings account, has gone up by $2 million. Aside from the Warburg Drain project, when I first came on the council, which we actually did callable bonds for to pay it back or to have the option to pay it off sooner, we haven't taken on any new debt since I've been on this council. But we've stuck to pay as we go and save up and then leverage grant dollars and to do projects. And then the concerns with pension liability or our legacy pension costs, all of us have taken that extremely seriously. Our staff were at the forefront of taking that seriously because we actually sat with our employee unions and worked with our employee unions, every one of our employee unions and our non-union staff, and worked out an agreement to close the pension plan to new hires. So we had to stop digging. We recognized that. And so and we had to work with our employee unions to get it done, and we did. In fact, we had 30% of our city employee team members voluntarily choose to transition from their legacy pension plan because of the cost of it and how much it was costing them in their paychecks to the new retirement plan that we're operating under. So we've worked to tackle these significant issues. We haven't taken them lightly. I am extremely proud of our city manager and our team at the city for the work that they've done, the sacrifices that they've made to tackle these really significant issues. We haven't taken them lightly. I think all of us are committed to, as long as we're here, doing everything we can to take care of our legacy pension costs, making sure that things are fully funded. We're staying true to our promises that we've made to our employees. In fact, we have actuarial numbers now where we know how much extra it's going to cost us per month by closing it. Those numbers came in way better than expected. In fact, we're going to be able to put extra money towards our pension costs each month. I think we're looking at doubling what we have to put in extra, right? To actually get ahead of the costs and pay it down, hopefully way before that 2040 date that's been set. So we're working hard on our finances here, and I'll leave it at that. So.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to say that the League of Women Voters held the candidate forum last week. This week on Thursday at 7 o'clock in the community center, there's another forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters regarding the BLP charter change. So anybody who's out there listening and interested in that as a topic might want to attend the forum on Thursday night. I believe it's at 7 o'clock, but you can get online and take a look. Shar, do you know 7 o'clock? Does that sound right? Yep, 7 p.m. That's all I've got. Ashley?
Just want to take a moment to acknowledge some of our recent staff accomplishments. You'll see in the first picture on the far left, our Streets and Utilities Manager, Matt Wade, just recently graduated from the Michigan Public Services Institute. That's a comprehensive program focusing on service excellence, supervisory, and leadership skills. The middle picture is our very own Shar. She recently received a Michigan Arts and Culture Council grant for the amount of $16,378 to begin some of the capital improvement projects within the theater space at Central Park Place. And then the last picture, at the annual MERS conference last week, the city received a MERS Impact Award in great part due to the education and outreach efforts of our human resources manager, Amanda Burnett. Can we go to the next one? And then as the deadline approaches, I just wanted to remind you as well as the public that RFPs for the annex building are due on Monday, October 9th at 5 p.m. We've, in the meantime, sought an appraisal that should be back to us yet this week. And our expectation as far as next steps is that based on the number of submittals, we would schedule presentations from the proposers at one of your upcoming meetings.
That sounds great, Ashley. Thank you, and I'm delighted to see. Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to add one thing we forgot to mention is the passing of Chris Burns, city manager of Spring Lake. My condolences out to her family and all that. I just want to make sure that we mention her name tonight. She was pretty strong in the area here, and she was a great manager, so she's going to be greatly missed.
It's a good point. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, I notice on our agenda, we have a new line item called the city clerk's report. Maria, what you got for us?
I noticed it too, because
Yeah.
I don't have a report.
Okay, that's fine, but did you add that? I kind of like it, but,
I did not, but the past couple meetings, I did have a report, so I think it just got left
just
there.
in case. All right, good enough. All right.
Well, I suppose I can add, I suppose I can add something. Absentee ballots are available for anyone who wishes to use that method to vote for the November 7th, 2023 election.
Good, thank you. All right, second call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may dial in at 616-935-3203. Yes, Jim.
Yes, good evening again. Jim Hagan, Lake Avenue. I wanted to comment, I keep hearing people say, oh, there's this, we're going to protect the waterfront, we're going to protect the waterfront. And I just wanted to bring up some things that have been said. I've heard it from community columnists, council members, spokesmen for, or participants of the BLP-CCC. They said, oh, the BLP got a permit to build. And it's like, what? What the BLP actually renewed was called a permit to install by the Eagles Department of Environmental Quality, or Air Quality, excuse me. And what that is it's actually a permit to have emissions from the the snow melt boilers that were built, and then the gas plant reciprocating engines that were canceled. So I've sent out the actual renewal document to everybody, and hopefully, and I saw actually Field's last note did actually call it a permit to install, which is the air permit. It has absolutely nothing to do with building. So that is just a complete red herring that people have thrown out there to confuse the public. So I really hope that people understand what was done and what is not being done, because only the council can authorize building a new facility. And the council absolutely is not going to do that. The last attempt was canceled, and it's not going to be renewed. You know, this fear-mongering that's going on is just, in my mind, completely ridiculous. It's just trying to confuse the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Cecil?
Cease Bradshaw, 31 Sherman Avenue. This council did not create the numbers that I read. This council did not create that. That happens over a period of time. And this council and city management is working hard to resolve that. But the point is, if you average where our city is in the fiscal health, it's 44%. 44% is failure. And failure means that there's a lot of work to be done. And there's enough things on the city agenda to take care of, to clean up, to clear up, without adding something else that has significantly strategic and technical aspects to it. And honestly, one of the things that really troubles me, and I was here last year, when I see the city council members acting the way that they do, not showing due respect for one another, and going their own way, and it just tells me that there's personal agendas, and it tells me there's political motivation. And that's not the kind of council that I would want, trying to select an advisory board to run something that's as technical and strategic as what the Board of Light and Power happens to be. So that was addressed in terms of how the city management, over a period of time, has brought us to a point where it's failing. Those are failing grades. And there's a big job to be done. Why add to it? Why add that to what you've already got in front of you to get back? And I would want, if I were there, I would not be proud of 44%, the overall average, for fiscal management. And I would be doing everything I could working on that. And the BLP is not one of those things. It's run well. We got good pricing. We have outstanding reliability. We have good strategic sourcing. And I do not see any reason why anybody would want to make a change to that. So I applaud you for what you are doing. I don't applaud you for the way that you act towards each other and the way that you sometimes go off on your own and do your own thing. But I know there's a big job ahead of you. I'm glad that you're up there. Well, I'm glad that I'm not up there. I should say that. So anyway, thank you very much for what you do.
Thanks, Cecil. Doug?
Doug Vance, 100 Washington. I would like to thank Ashley, the staff, the city staff, the DDA, and ultimately you council members for changing the parking hours, the 3-hour parking hours. I was a little disappointed because I read in here where it said modify. I thought maybe you would also move somewhere that 3-hour parking is, but we've got some time if that's going to be accomplished as well. But also to let you know that the decisions you make have consequences on businesses downtown, mine in particular, but I'm also have had discussions with numerous other business owners downtown. Quite honestly, I was ready to say, we're done. And then I got the agenda on Thursday and I said, there is still hope. And I appreciate that you are willing to look at the realities of what's going on down there and make changes where necessary. Today I held our first meeting on what we're going to do with 100 Washington. We have a number of options. And we'll be releasing more information as that moves along. But without that being on the agenda and me realizing that you're willing to look at the situation and say, yes, we really need to make this fair to the businesses downtown and the tenants, which has been my premise all along, is, you know, forget the employees, forget the business owners, but let's talk about the tenants. So I appreciate that, and I want you to know that it has consequences, and in this case, I hope it turns out that it's very positive and that you will see that going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Okay.
Hi, Andrea Hendrick, 1514 Penoyer. I just want to give a shout out to the students and staff of Central High School. They had a team of about 35 kids that were able to come out and help the Main Street DDA to set up all the beautiful corn stalks that you see up and down Washington and into Centertown. So we had reached out just asking if those students would be willing, and we were shocked by how many students actually come out. Well, of course, they wanted to get out of their class, but it's great to see, our students getting involved in the community, and I think this is going to be a relationship that will create a tradition where they'll get out and help us on different projects, and I just want to thank Central High School for that.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Central High School. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thanks, folks.
Shortest meeting?